function, right? How can I even be a leader if I cannot even manage my emotions? How can I even bring the company to the next level when I cannot even find the motivation to get out? True. Did you know that it actually takes more strength and courage to ask for help? Yeah, it takes a lot more strength and courage to say, I need help, than to just keep silent and try to...
Welcome to Her Strength, Her Stories.
My name is Z.
My name is Vicky. So this is our very first podcast, episode 1. So basically, this I think we talked about objective first. So I think having this series, the objective is really to gather a group of amazing women leaders to express themselves freely.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to invite remarkable women to come and share their personal stories and based on different topics. So in total, we'll have 5 episodes, and this is the very first one. And yes, and this first episode, we actually specially invite one of our special guests. Her name is Colleen, and we're gonna talk about knowing when to stop leading without burnout. Yes, and before we start, we want to give a great, huge thank you, gratitude note to our venue partner, Common Ground. Yeah, in this beautiful space around, and also a huge thank you to our production team, the behind the scenes, Adam, Ryan. Awesome. So we'll see you soon. Okay. And today we have a special guest here, Colleen.
So today's topic is about knowing when to stop leading without burnout.
Yeah.
And wonderfully today and gratefully we have Colleen today as our special guest to share about this topic relating to burnout. Why is because Colleen is an entrepreneur turned into a certified yoga and mindfulness coach right now. She has her own initiative called Yoga for Moms, and she has been practicing yoga and mindfulness for 15 years.
Wow.
And her background came from an F&B chain, and having so many on her plate, plus is a full-time mom. Having so many things on a plate, and as a woman, we'd love to know more about your stories and how do you manage and handle this. So today, it's all about
talking why we actually have this. I have Colleen all the way, for today's session. It's really back then, since 2019, when I first know Colleen, right? She's actually my coach in this accelerator program in entrepreneur organization. So back then when I know Colleen, she was just like pregnant, and then she's managing like F&B chain, and she's a CEO, and then she's like learning yoga at the same time as a coach also. But back then you were just a part-time, right? And then I'm managing so many things at the same time, and you're my coach. I'm like, how do you even have time for it, right? So I think talking about burnout, you must have a little experience. And would really like to hear from you in person.
Hi, my name is Colleen. I'm a yoga and mindfulness coach. So I used to be a restaurateur for the last 10 years, and recently I'm turned full-time into coaching women. I'm also the Adidas creator. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to always share my experience and to actually uplift and empower more women.
What is burnout to you?
Yeah, so it's interesting that we always think of burnout as, for example, doing something for a long time and then, exhausting ourselves, and then we have a burnout.
Okay.
But do you know that's actually 5 stages of burnout?
Okay.
So I've been listening to Jay Shetty's podcast, and in one of his podcasts, he actually shared that there's actually 5 stages. So the first stage of burnout is actually the honeymoon stage. Yeah.
Honeymoon stage. Okay.
Yeah. And the second is onset stress.
Okay.
And the third is chronic stress.
Okay.
Fourth is the actual burnout. So it's not just so straightforward as what we think, I'm experiencing burnout.
Okay.
But if we catch it on early, we're actually able to overcome it quite easily.
I see.
Yeah. Okay.
That's very interesting. It's actually my first time hearing this stages of burnout.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question to Colleen, when was your honeymoon burnout happen?
So my honeymoon burnout, I think, happened when I first came back to the business, maybe in about 2012. So when I first came back, I was working in Melbourne, and I was a business analyst. So I was in the finance industry. So from the finance industry to completely, pivot into F&B, it was a huge shift for me, right? From working with numbers to working with people. I think that was the time I experienced my first honeymoon burnout. Because I was very excited, I was very motivated, and I was pushing myself so hard. I was working 12 to 14-hour days and even on weekends.
Wow.
Right? So yeah, I'll start my day at 10 and end the day maybe around 12 at night. And I'll repeat this, right? And so that was the time that, yes, I would say that was the time of my honeymoon burnout.
How long it takes to have like honeymoon burnout? How long this duration?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So in honeymoon burnout phase, you will notice that you'll feel tired, right?
Okay.
In simple things that you used to find easy. So for example, like myself, I like to do yoga. So for me, doing a 1-hour class, there's nothing to it, right? Because I'm used to it. But for example, if like halfway through the class, I would suddenly feel tired, or I would fall asleep during Shavasana more often than not, right? So that was a sign that I was actually exhausting myself more than I should.
Yeah, right. So when the moment you feel like normal day, you feel okay doing it, but when you start doing it and you feel tired and exhausted, then that is a sign of honeymoon burnout.
Yes, that means something that you're used to doing. So it's not a new task for you, something that your body is already used to doing, but then suddenly you feel exhausted doing it. And I mean, that is why right now I practice a lot of yoga and mindfulness, because I'm aware about the dangers of not being aware about ourselves and allowing ourselves to go through that because we feel that, for example, we don't have a choice. Like, I can do this, right? I have no choice. I must make it happen.
Okay.
But if we don't pause, we might go towards the extreme.
Yeah. So a lot of times we do keep hustling and going, right? Until a point of time when we hit, when our health, just suddenly.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we don't want to reach until that stage.
Yes, exactly.
Usually sometimes our body would send you a signal, and then we just need to be aware about it.
Yeah.
Action, right? Okay. And now I'm really wanted to know the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Sure, I'm happy to
some
share.
of the highlights. Maybe you can share with us, because you mentioned a honeymoon burnout is when you get tired. So how about second on stage? Yeah, onset.
Onset stress is when you feel, different from before, right? In the sense that you start to feel anxious. You start to feel forgetful. Yeah. So these are a little bit it's quite clear, right? When simple tasks we start to forget, or we start to forget our own appointments. We start to forget things that we're normally good at remembering, right? Or we start to feel anxious when something goes wrong.
Anxious.
Yeah. And so that is a clear sign of onset stress. Yeah.
Okay.
What about chronic stress? It's like a build up.
Yeah. So chronic stress is when, no matter how much you eat, no matter how much you rest, your body just feels like there's very low in energy. It's very depleted of energy.
Okay.
And you feel that, you lack the motivation. So let's say you're lying in bed, and even after sleeping 10 or 12 hours, you still feel very tired, right? And your body is just not recovering, right? It's just not feeling the energy to do things that you used to do. So that's a clear sign of chronic stress.
Even though you sleep 14 hours.
Yeah.
It's still not enough.
Yeah. So if you're experiencing that, then you're experiencing chronic stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this haven't reached the burnout yet.
Yes, this is only stage 3.
Yeah.
Middle.
Yeah. You have to reach the stage 4 where it's actually burnout.
Yeah.
So what
is actual burnout?
Okay, so actual burnout happens when your body truly reacts, right? So that can happen in the terms of sickness, or your immune system drops drastically. Some people, they get a flare-up of eczema, skin allergies. So these are very clear signs of actual burnout. That means your body cannot handle it anymore. No matter how much you tell yourself, yeah, I'll be okay, let's do this, but your body is just shutting down or giving you clear signs that it is not doing okay. So that's a clear sign of burnout.
Can I ask more personal question?
Sure.
Because knowing that you go through all these 5 stages, it must not be easy.
Yeah.
And then can you share your burnout experience? What are the signs that has in it
For me?
Yeah,
Okay.
the significant moments that you have gone through.
So I already shared with you the first phase, right? Like when I came back, I was very enthusiastic. I was overworking myself. And then I started to realize that because I wasn't taking care of myself properly, I was going through a lot of stress, I was starting to also feel very tired, right? Like no matter how much I rested in the weekend, it would never be enough. And suddenly I felt less motivated. So less motivation is also a clear sign that our body is, it's not doing well in whatever routine we've set for it, right?
Correct.
So I felt less motivated. Some days I didn't want to wake up or get out of bed. And I think towards the end, the clearest sign for me that I was going through this habitual burnout was that I had a really high and low fluctuation of emotions.
Right.
So at one point, I could be completely happy. And within the next half an hour, I would be in tears. And that's a sign of depression, actually. Like when we allow ourselves to not be able to manage ourselves so that our emotions even go through super high and super low, and we're not able to manage that. So that was a clear wake-up call for me. So when all 5 happened, what I did for myself was I really focused on my own well-being first. So I told myself that, okay, if I don't address this, I'm not going to be able to function, right? How can I even be a leader if I cannot even manage my emotions? How can I even bring the company to the next level when I cannot even find the motivation to get out of bed, right? So what I did was I really focused a lot on yoga and mindfulness.
Okay.
I practiced yoga much more than I did previously. So I would practice maybe 5 times to 6 times a week. And I would also practice meditation, which really helps. Just talk about any form of exercise in general, right? What it brings to us is that it allows us to be in the present moment, right? So even if you go for a yoga class, but if your mind is thinking about the next thing, like, okay, after this class, I have to rush home for dinner, I have to prepare this, I have to do that. So actually, that yoga class will not be effective, right? But for example, if you're just taking a walk, right, from your car to your home, but in those 20 steps from your car to your home, you're in the present moment, you're really taking a moment to just watch your footsteps, look at the environment, listen to the sounds, you're already practicing yoga. Because, yes.
Okay.
Not bad. Yes, because in that sense, your mind, your body, and your soul are at one. So you're really in the present moment, you're united as a person. And that is true yoga.
Right. Okay. Because I learned that yoga is really the practice of being in union of mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever you're in that position, you are practicing yoga.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Actually, when you are cooking, and you are so focused in that action, you are actually doing yoga.
Yes, I mean that would be a mindful practice. I mean, we can even try it right now, right? So
let's do this.
Right now, let's just try to just close our eyes. Just put your hand on your knees. Just sit in a comfortable position. Just close your eyes. And just take a few deep breaths, right? So just inhale slowly, and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 as you inhale. And as you exhale, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once more, inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And a final time, inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, being mindful means that in every moment you're conscious about what you're doing. So, for example, if you're using your phone or you're checking your emails, you're 100% in that what you've done. But then when you decide that, okay, now is the time for me to do the next thing, which is, for example, go for a meal, but you can completely put that phone down. Okay. So that you're not controlled by the technology. It is you using it as a tool. And that's actually being very mindful about how we can use technology and not let technology be useless.
That answers my question, please. Is burnout happens when individual can't cope with stress? Is that true? Do you think that's true? I mean,
so based on the 5 stages, I would say that if you cannot manage your chronic stress, it would definitely be burnout. And so that is why it's important for us to know that these are the signs of me being stressed. and therefore I need to ask for this or that. And if we cannot do it by ourselves, by all means, we need professional help. Right? And I think that there's nothing wrong speaking to counselors, or psychologists, or speaking to someone who's actually trained. Because a lot of times people speak to just their friends or their families, and friends or family may not be the correct people to at least seek for advice because they are not equipped, you're not trained, or they don't have the right tools to support us, right? So definitely we need to seek help when we need,
seek further professional help. So first is being aware about which stage are we?
Yes, be aware of which stage are we in. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4 on the line, right? Yes.
And after that is we do what we can. So for these practices or breathing health. Really. So when they can maintain a healthier practice, we have the intimacy. Consistent is the key. So because there's two really interesting findings here, I thought I wanted to ask also.
Sure.
Do you think burnout is a sign of weakness?
Absolutely not. So burnout can happen to anyone, right? So as I mentioned, there's 5 stages of burnout. Burnout can happen to anyone who's in a stressful or, a condition or in a state where they're going through mental or, physical difficulties. So physical is obviously a sign that our body is not coping well. And mental is when we're overstimulating ourselves, giving it too much, right? And it can happen to anyone.
So it's okay to be not okay.
Yes, it's okay to be not okay. And I think that a lot of people perceive asking for help as weak, which is actually, completely untrue. Did you know that it actually takes more strength and courage to ask for help? Yes, it takes a lot more strength and courage to say, I need help, than to just keep silent and try to manage ourselves.
I think that resonates with our humans should be there. And we get that we need to handle and we have to lead the team and be the handler ourselves, right?
Exactly.
We only want and I'm being.
So that leads to the last one. Is burnout only relates to burnout at work? Or what about burnout outside of work? I think that's a great question, and I would like to say that that's why I'm passionate about supporting women, especially mothers, because a lot of mothers actually experience burnout. A lot of mothers, in the honeymoon phase, right? After we give birth, we are like, okay, everything's about the child, right? I want the best for this child. We're not sleeping well because we have to nurse the child, care for the child, right? And then after that, if we continue this cycle and we do not realize that our bodies are undergoing exhaustion, or that, we too need some rest, we need time for self-care, that a lot of mothers experience burnout.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Trudin, for sharing. I think that is really helpful. And these are very practical tools that we can use anytime.
We get to know the 5 stages. We get to know about your personal experience, how we go through this, and your personal practices. And then simple practices that we can do right now. Enough that. Appreciate your sharing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So stay tuned. Check us out, and we also will tag Ferlin on our podcast. If you want to know more about Yoga for Mom, do reach out to Yoga for Moms, and then of course stay tuned for more episodes coming up soon, right? With Hostrana story.
Thank you.
Okay, follow, subscribe here.